I love Christmas hams.
I'm looking forward to tasting this one.
Oh, it's got a hint of spice.
Ooh, it's very spicy actually.
Hello, today we're going to be trying other dads' hams on BuzzFeed.
Hi there, my name's Jeremy and my background is in the food industry but as a food scientist.
I'm Bruce Bain. I've been a pastry chef for a lot of years.
Hi, I'm Emile. I love cooking and renowned for my ham on Christmas Day.
I'm Steve. I like cooking ham. It gets me out of the kitchen at Christmas time and gets me outside where I'm happy. For my ham glaze, you take a can of pineapple pieces and blitz them up in a blender, add brown sugar, smoked honey, third of a cup of bourbon, a dried and ground up habanero chili, 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard, teaspoon of ground cinnamon, slices of ginger. We heat that up on low for about 30 minutes. I grab my ham, I take the skin off, I score the ham fat and dot the ham with cloves. By this time the glaze should be ready. We can give the ham a quick baste and then we can put some pineapple slices on top and add some cherries in the middle. Then we can baste it again. I take that to the oven. The temperature should be about 120. Cook away, basting every 15 minutes for about an hour and a half until it's nice and juicy. I prefer to slice towards the bone on the angle, starting at the thin end, put them on the plate and away you go.
Nice, traditional with the Christmas ham. Strong smell of cloves.
It's been coated with a fairly thick glaze by the looks of it.
Is that apple with it or apple cinnamon?
Possibly apple and dried fruit.
Oh, it's got a hint of spice.
Ooh, it's very spicy actually.
The pineapple in this case has obviously been cooked and it's got a nice caramelised flavour.
The meat is nice and tender.
Very good. I'm not a huge fan of the old style of cloves. 7 out of 10, I think.
Not too chewy, which is nice. Give it a 7.
A good glaze, nice ham that one. I'll give this one an 8.
I'm originally from South Africa, so we traditionally cook a gammon. So I had to adapt to cooking a ham when I got to Australia. So I scored with a sharp knife in diamond shapes, about 1 inch thick. And then place the entire ham into the baking tray. I add onion that's cut in half, 2 bay leaves, cloves, peppercorns, cover the ham then with 2 pieces of foil, and I bake for 30 minutes. Heat the butter in a small saucepan over medium heat until golden brown. Add in brown sugar, maple syrup, Dijon mustard, and the cinnamon, stirring in together until the brown sugar is completely dissolved. Then reduce the heat to low, and I add in garlic and bring to a simmer. I then set that aside to let cool. After 30 minutes of baking, carefully remove the ham. I then discard the foil and pour over 1/3 of the glaze of all the ham, brushing in between the cuts, cover it all evenly, and then return to the oven and bake uncovered for 15 minutes. And once it's nice and golden brown and the crust is formed, I then start garnishing it with the pineapple and the glazed cherries. And then I glaze it slightly and put it in the oven for another 5 minutes or so. Once that comes out, the ham needs to rest for about 10 to 20 minutes before you start carving.
It's got nice caramelisation over the fat. It smelled perfect.
They've done the diagonal slicing on top.
Very traditional Australian flavours, pineapple and ham.
I'm looking forward to tasting this one. The ham's nice and moist. There's a nice caramelisation on the outside.
The flavour's good and the pineapple's got quite a nice sort of crisp flavour to it as well.
It's nice. Tastes like it's lacking a little bit, that's all.
This is quite a flavoursome ham, but it could have been more flavoursome if the pineapple, I think, had been caramelised with it.
I'd be rating this a 7.5 out of 10.
I'll give this an 8.
7 out of 10. So this ham recipe cooks the pork in a cider-based stock. So you'll need some good quality dry cider and you need about 750 mils. And to that I add cloves, a whole star anise, cinnamon stick, some allspice, just a pinch or a half a teaspoon, and the zest, that's the grated zest and juice of one orange. You adjust the sweetness if necessary with a little bit of extra sugar. You just let this cook slowly for about 5 to 10 minutes so all those flavours gently mull together. Once that's done, filter it through a sieve to get rid of the cloves and the star anise, and that's the cider. We're now ready To cook our gammon, I've got a prepared gammon here. It's a boneless pork shoulder with the skin on. It's netted to hold it together after boning, and it's then been cured using a special spice salt mixture for 4 days. We then place our gammon into a casserole, and we add all our other ingredients. 300 ml of apple juice and 300 ml of the mulled cider we made earlier. The peeled orange zest, cinnamon, star anise, a clove of garlic crushed. So whilst this is cooking, I'm now going to make the maple syrup glaze. Place the maple syrup into a saucepan and bring it up to about 140 degrees centigrade. Then add the cider very carefully because it will splatter. 1 cinnamon stick, a quarter of a teaspoon of mustard powder, and about 200 grams of Dijon mustard. Mix it all together until it's reduced by half, and then remove the cinnamon stick, then allow that to cool. The gammon should now be cooked, so take it out of the oven and allow it to stand for 30 minutes or so. And then with a very sharp knife, we remove the skin. You then score the fat with the knife, place it on a baking tray and brush with plenty of the maple mustard glaze. And then bake in a very hot oven. After 10 minutes, bring it out and apply a second layer of the glaze and bake for another 10 minutes. Then remove it from the oven and allow it to rest for about 10 minutes before slicing. Then you serve it hot or warm with the remaining glaze as a sauce.
It looks very appealing. I like the idea of the sauce that goes with it.
It smells beautiful.
I don't know if it was cooked properly.
Oh,
A lot sweeter than the last one.
that's really flavoursome.
Apple and citrus.
Orangey, cinnamon, honey, glaze.
Flavours definitely pulled through to the meat here, which is nice.
Hasn't got the old school herbs on it.
Give this one a 8.5.
A good 9. I think it's a beauty actually.
9 out of 10. I think it's fantastic. Whoever cooked this did a great job.
I did the injected ham last year at a family Christmas gathering, and it was a major hit. In a saucepan I put in the bourbon, brown sugar, bit of pineapple juice, small amount of cinnamon, some honey and some Dijon mustard. Let it simmer for a couple of minutes until the brown sugar dissolves. Let it cool enough that you can put it into the syringe for the injection process that you do once it's cooled. Fill the ham with plenty of the syrup, wrap it in foil and stick it in the oven, 160 degrees Celsius for an hour. Bourbon, brown sugar, pineapple juice, a bit of honey, apricot jam, Dijon mustard, whole grain seeded mustard, Master Foods mustard sauce, and again a tad of cinnamon. Liberally baste the whole ham, put it back in the oven, check every 10 to 15 minutes, keep glazing it until you get a nice thick gooey coating. When it looks like it's nice and sticky and golden and gooey, the ham's ready.
This is a good looking sliced ham. It's nice and colourful.
Dijon mustard on there, ingredient I use in my glaze.
I say seed mustard.
Okay.
I like that sort of fat just to crisp on the outside.
The glaze on the outside is quite delicate, but because it's quite thin, it's also been able to be cut into the slices.
It's strange, is it? Has this one been boiled or is it sliced and then cooked?
I can reveal this dad has injected the glaze.
Well, that's a good revelation because the injection has certainly put the flavour into the centre.
On the meat, there's plenty of flavour.
So I don't know what was in that mixture that they injected. Maybe there's some salt in there. With me, Christmas ham, you must get that sort of sweet, savoury taste. I'm not getting a lot of sweetness from this one.
Score this one about a 7.
7.
A 9 out of 10. Oh, well, that's a surprise. Thank you, I'm very honoured. I think all these hams were great. They were all different. Oh, I'm very pleased. Thank you very much.